Yay. Share. Hi, Danny. Just trying to get it shared onto Facebook, but it's not letting me. Everyone. All right, close that out. I had to verify myself that I was me logging into me, not to Jen. Alrighty. Give people a few more minutes to get in here. What's going on? You can get started here in a few minutes, just getting everything set up a little early. Just had to verify myself that I was logging in. You probably heard that, didn't you? Oops. So hopefully today goes smooth. I wasn't able to share the stream. Wouldn't let me share it to Facebook, but so I just put down we were live and tagged everyone in the comments. So I just said that we were live on YouTube and said and tagged everyone in as a comment, said at everyone. So we left it at that. I know Jennifer has a lot of ducks to play with now. Oh. All right. Welcome everyone back to the last video of this 5-part series. We're going to do a quick refresher for about 15-20 minutes and then go from there. So we talked about the very first video, terminals, and so we talked about this. Everything on this side of the line is what's energized in the cool mode. Everything on this side of the line is what's not energized in the cool mode. Same with the heat, what's energized and what's not. So we know Y, G, O, right? W, B, E slash aux, Y, G, B, W, E slash aux, O. I think I'm forgetting something. Because we already got the R right there. So yeah. So everything, if we measure from anything on this side to either, will be 0 volts. Anything from here to here will be 24 volts. Same with this. 0 volts, 24 volts. So if I were to go from G to B, I'm crossing that line. I get 24 volts. If I go Y to B, which is the reversing valve heat, I get 0 volts. So keep that in mind when you're doing diagnostics and testing on low voltages. If you had a call for AC and you tested from here to here and you got 24 volts, you have a problem here. That's a problem. If I got 24 volts between R and Y, something is not sending a signal through. Okay. It could be a bad thermostat wire. It could be broken connection. It could be a bad thermostat. Okay. You may have a junction in the crawl space or in the attic that you don't know about that's causing the problem. But if you're getting a call for cooling and you go between R and Y and get 24 volts, and you go and say between Y and common and get 0 volts, you definitely have an issue somewhere on your low voltage. And that's where a lot of guys get misconstrued and mess up. You could be working on the wrong thermostat too. But if the house has one thermostat, you shouldn't have that problem. So I want to just refresh this on everything that goes through with this low voltage connections. Okay. Remember, the key is knowing what's energized and what mode you're in to know what terminal should have power and what does not. Now, if you're using Jennifer's on. Yeah, I can't imagine why you had issues because I had to verify myself. If you have a gas furnace, well, we know W, right? Our heat's going to be energized if we have a two-stage gas furnace. But one thing that's not energized on a gas furnace is G, okay? So if we're using AC, you just don't have the O terminal. So pretty the same. But gas furnace, you're going to have the the Y. Okay. So with the gas furnace, you'll have W1, W2. It's just two terminals. That's it. There's no aux. There's no 500 different W1, W2, W3s. Gas furnaces are generally W1 and W2. That's it. Okay. Straight ACs. Basically what I had over there. R and G. RYG, that's it. That's all you have to worry about because W is over there on the heat side. Same thing applies with this. Anything on this side over here is going to read 0 volts. If you get a 24-volt reading between R and W, something is not calling. Same with down here. If you get a call between R, Y, and G, and you go between R and G and you get 0 volts, something is not calling. Something is not right. So you need to make sure you're checking your voltages and trying to trace out that wire. Sometimes guys take wire nuts and they tie them up too tight and they break it. Okay. Sometimes guys strip the wire nuts and mess it up. So where are they at? I should have brought thermostat wire up here, but this will work. Ah! And this is why I should have brought thermostat wire up. This is why I need a classroom. Bigger space. All right. Hey, it wouldn't be Chicks if we didn't have any issues, right? We all have this fun stuff. So let me just strip this back here a second here. So thermostat wire not stripped. A lot of us old guys will just take our lineman's pliers, even though they're made by Klein, we still all call them Kleins, but they're lineman's pliers. And key with them is you have no man here, man at a pole here. That side moves, as you can see, but the guy moves. This side does not move. If you have to smack something, always smack it on the side where the guy doesn't move. We don't want to hurt the guy. Smack on the backside. A lot of guys will just take the Kleins, put it like this, grab the wire, and strip. Okay? That's fine and dandy. But you need to be careful because sometimes you'll apply too much pressure and you'll dig into the wire and pull out. And let me strip it back a little bit more now that I just did that. I don't know if y'all gonna be able to see this on this screen here. This might be so small. But right here, my thumbnail is, I stripped it too much. And it can eventually, over time, just break right there at that joint. Okay? A vibration, boom. Now you've got a wire piece stuck in your wire nut, and this just barely sticking in there. So what happens is it looks like it's wired up, but it's broken. So then you can go out and buy a set of these wire strippers. Doesn't matter what kind of wire strippers you get. Wire strippers have gauges on them. This one has an 18 gauge. You can put it in, pull, and you don't nick the wire. If you're doing lots of wiring and lots of stripping, I highly recommend these. If it's just 1 or 2 wires, I always use these. But when I'm wiring a lot of wires, I'll break these out because I got different gauge wires to go with. Okay. So keep that in mind. Same thing goes when you're stripping stranded wire. Okay. Clients will cut them and you'll be shorted strands, which you don't want. So you can put this in the right spot, Squeeze. And it's just tight because I twisted the wire. And boom. And now I have no strands in the end of this. So a lot of the problems that come with low voltage comes from stripping the wires and making that connection, guys and gals. It happens to everybody, me included, where I've stripped the wire too hard and wire nutted it, and then pop, as I'm twisting it in, it breaks at the connection where I made it. And I got to pull it apart, throw that wire nut away because the wire's stuck in there. You can't get it out, so you got to get a new wire nut. Now you're wasting time, wasting money, yada, yada, yada. But it happens to everybody. Trust me, we're all infallible of being perfect. I am far from perfect, but I enjoy teaching. I enjoy teaching people from my mistakes and my problems and the things I do. Just like I swore to myself I'd never get a veto bag, but I got one. Now, I don't know how I went so long without having one when they came out, but I finally got one and last year, 2 years ago, and been liking it ever since, been putting it through you know what. Now, the next thing about diagnostics is meters. Everyone has their own personal preference on what meter to use, what's better than this, what's better than that. You know, more power to you. If you like that Fluke for that price, go for it. I know guys that work to have the Fluke, they've got 2 meters just to do the job of 1 meter, in my opinion. So, with that being said, I have 2 meters. I have an HS36 by field piece, and the new one that came out with last year, the LT17A. This is more like a bench style meter. The nice thing about this is when I'm checking capacitors, I can get a higher reading up to 20K on my capacitors. The only time I'm going to use that is if I'm messing with a VRF system with those high capacitors. 16,000 microfarads. This will read it. My 36 will not. They do make a meter for mini splits. That's fine and dandy. They make specific meters for certain things. I like the HS36 because it has everything you need. I like this because when I'm using this for mini splits or something DC voltage, I will go to this because it's a more sensitive meter in my opinion, and it has better ranges to play with. Where it's just volts DC, it doesn't have a lot of range. So, time to move the board and bring the big board up. Since it wanted to come up prematurely. Stay. Good board. So let me get this camera back down here. See if she'll focus in on it. And of course, why doesn't it not want to focus in? Just my luck. The last day we have man down and things not wanting to focus. Let me see if I can move my bag out the way and get it on the stand closer. Give me a second. Yep, moving the stand closer definitely made it better. So let me grab one thing because I know what's going to happen, and I'd rather not have to deal with it again. We're going to prevent ourselves from losing a fuse, just in case. by adding in our fuse popper. All right. We shall wait. It says hi. I thought about changing it out, but I've already got it wired in, and I know how Denny just loves the nest of wires, and his OCD is going crazy. So that's our. What was brown going to off of that? Oh, do, 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 do. These are our commons right here. And disconnect O's. So basically everything is disconnected coming from the thermostat other than R. No, the switch is not turned on the light. Thermostat turns on the light. So let's go to cool. Set for cool and 69. Now, one of the things, remember, when the cool is energized, you're going to have 24 volts constantly on your reversing valve, right? So I'm going to try and set this up to where you can somewhat see the meter. Hopefully it doesn't fall. So I know this terminal right here is on my common. So I'm going to go here to O. Well, let me take this from 600. Let me put it down to 200. 13 volts right now. If I were to check it up to here, I'm waiting for my time delay, so it's not going to send my signal. Let's go Y to common. Let's go R to common. Let's see what we get. All right, so R to common, you can see we're getting 27.4, 27.5 volts. So we're waiting for the thermostat to come out of time delay. So we got that lovely 5 minutes. Another nice thing about field piece meters while we're waiting, the ends come off. You can hook your amp clamp to it, put it behind the door, put the blower door back on. You can get a true reading on your amps on those on the 36 and this here. They also have the little covers, so in case you're messing with really high voltage, you can put those on as well. But for this to here, but I also have a lot more functions you can mess with that. Still waiting. Once I see 24 on my G circuit, I know we'll be good. Any questions so far? And where might be a bad thermostat too, which would be a good reason to show this issue. It is 55 degrees outside of my house. So this is why I like basic thermostats. And you might see me change this out to a Honeywell in a second here if this thing does not come out of time delay. What's going on, Corey? Uh, yeah, I've got one here, and might just change it over to the Honeywell. I'm gonna change this 5000 program real quick, and there it is. Let's see here. Do, 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 do. Give me a second. I'm just reprogramming a thermostat. Just in case this thing decides it doesn't want to work for me today. It would be just my luck. Let's see if we got 24 volts now. There we go. 27 volts. So we know G's got 27 volts. Y to common, 27 volts. O to common, 27 volts. Let me turn the light on. Does that help you guys see any better? No. So Y to common, 27. O. Here's Y. G. Here's W. Not getting 27 volts. So you can see we're calling for cooling. So G, Y, and O are calling. Right? No, it doesn't say calibrate. It's just, I just turned it on, so it took a minute. It did say calibrate before, but now it's not. So I guess decided it wanted to act right properly. But our 5,000 is set to go just in case. So now if I were to go from Y to R, I'm just going to go down here in the defrost board because it's exposed. You can see 0 volts. O, 0 volts. W, we've got 11. R to G, 0. So now I'll take my G. Voila. Relay calls, fan relay closes. My little light here shuts off, but our fan is on. We'll shut that off just for light because as soon as I do this, it's hard to read this meter, right? So reversing valve. We know we're getting a call, so we can wire that wire back up, and you can see my orange light from our reversing valve comes into play. Now I could take that. That isn't taking the place of this right here. That light is my coil. Now I know I got 24 volts calling Y. Compressor and fan came on, right? Everything's working. Now, I do have our relay right here. This is a delay on make, this is a delay on break, right? So we're going to have a little fun with this. We're going to take, turn these off a second here, because one's a black light and one is not. Our Y circuit, disconnect it. Bring it up here. Going to put this over here. So here's our delay on make, right? So here's the click. We'll do the outdoor fan. All right. So I'll pull these timers up here to see a little better. We'll pull this one off the board. The timing settings are still the same on both boards, on both timers. So all the way over here, 0.3. Then that's 5 minutes, and that's 10 minutes. So you can go 0.3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 minutes. So I can take the same dial here, and if I don't have say I've got a straight AC, and I want to now I've got an old mercury bulb thermostat, and the house has power surges, and it's an elderly customer, and they love their mercury bulb, and they don't want digital nothing. I can put a delay on make relay in here. So, and I can set it for 5 minutes to where when it gets a call, it will take 5 minutes. All right. So that is set for 5. Clock, stopwatch. All right. Lights, bulbs are screwed in, right? There's our timer. We have a call. We have 24 volts going to that because we know we've checked it. Now we're going to sit here for the lovely 5-minute time delay that everyone is going, oh, the worst time. But this is to show you that it's set for 5 and it should click in at 5 minutes. Any questions so far on what we got? Because we're going to go through some more of this low voltage to show you how to diagnose it and check it out. Okay. Minute 35 in. Hope everyone's having a good weekend so far. And yeah, it's getting warm in here. I was gonna put the fan on, but the fan would have pulsating shadows going across the ceiling, which might affect the camera. $2.30. We are halfway there. Now I could dial that down to 3 minutes, and it should kick in, but we're gonna go for the true 5 minutes, just to show you that when you set them for those times, they should click in at those times. Now the delay on make goes into a 5-minute time delay, a timer when it has a call on it. A delay on break goes into a timer when it stops receiving a call. So that way, when power comes back on or there's a call again, it automatically comes straight to it. but it won't let it do it for 5 minutes. And I could show you that as well, but we're not going to get into too much of that. But it's just basically it works the opposite versus where this one takes 5 minutes to come on once you make a call. This one takes once it's no more call. It goes to a 5 minute timer, and then after that 5 minutes, it will allow it to come on. So if you short cycled a system, it wouldn't work because it's still got to wait for that 5 minutes for it to be broken before it'll come on. And they physically tell you on here, delay on break timer or delay on make timer. So you can't get them confused. And there's a little tab in the bottom there, says cut wire for 120 or 240 volts. So right here in the bottom, if you want to use this on a 120 volt circuit or you can do that. You just cut that wire and 120 in, 120 out. So like I could take it and put it wired into the fan and make the fan wait 5 minutes. All right, we're at 420. Almost there. Seven seconds. Just after the 5 minute mark. There it is. 5 minutes, 30 seconds, roughly, it took for that to go through. So, 5 minute time delay, it's a good 5 minute time delay. Maybe a little heavy, but it's a good 5 minute time delay. So as you can see, everything's working. So I'm gonna undo the bulbs. We know we got a call. So let's say reversing valve. You've got 24 volts coming off the board, right? But your solenoid is not energizing. One way you can find out is I'm going to wire this up real quick. A different way, but just wanted you to see this so you can see it. I'm going to pull the orange light off and put this in its place. So let me put some spade jumpers on here, some males on here. Yeah, I brought my service bag up with me just to make life easier for this. And yes, I keep steak-ons in my service bag. Because any good technician should always have good steak-ons. Now, another thing about doing steak-ons, okay? So you see how the bottom's flat and the tops have the curve? This is where the two pieces meet. I always like to take it and put it like this. So this is on the solid side, this is on the back side, so it pushes into it. Because sometimes when you push down on that, it will push it outward and not make a good connection. And every time I make a crimp, I always double grip it. After I do it, I always do a little tug test. like this. Make sure that it is fully engaged. If you've ever had to switch over an old York from one circuit defrost board to the new style defrost board, yeah, this was not fun back then. All the stake-ons you had to put on. All right. So that's good to go. Let me pull off this no more orange light. We're going to plug up our solenoid. Solenoid is active. So one thing you can tell is watch what happens. See how it pulls up? See how I'm holding that vertically? That'll tell you if your coil is good. Now also helps on magnetizing my Phillips head, but you can see how it pulls. If it'll hold itself up vertically, it's got a good magnetic pull. If it just kind of goes in and drops, and it doesn't feel like this thing is getting really hot, because these get hot. Remember, it's a magnetic coil, so it pulls, and they should hold themselves up, no problem. That's how you can tell that you have a good coil for your reversing valve. Now I'm pulling up on it, and you can see how it was going up. It'll release at some point, but yes, that's how you can tell if your coil is good or not, by pulling up on it. Contactors, they're a different ballpark. So if I move this over to resistance, and I go across my contactor, sorry for my head being in the way here, it's just so I can see. I got 11 ohms of resistance, all right? 11 to 14, generally good. Anything higher, anything lower, you have a bad contactor. Now, grant this is a 120 volt coil, but we're just going to throw this on here just for the fun of it. Too much. See, so it's a 120 volt coil. You can see I'm getting OL. So I need to change my resistance rating. So you see, I've got a higher resistance rating here. Now, if I disconnect my coil, my common, and my G, take a resistance rating of the solenoid coil here, I got 18.5. Go back over here, too much. There's not enough on that. So that's another way to check. So you can see I got 18. I'm good. Just because that's a 24 volt coil and the contactor 20 volt coil doesn't mean they're going to have these same resistance readings. So you need to know what they are. It's always good if you're not sure what your contactor has and you have a new one on the truck, check the new one, then check the old one. It's an easy way to find out. Now, contact points generally do get pitted up and burnt up. A lot of the new contactors have these little plastic covers on them, but earwigs and ants and stuff like still to get in there, and they will get smashed in between those contacts, and then power won't go through them. They get pitted, they get burnt up. Back in the day, they used to have rebuild kits to clean them up and stuff and everything else. Yes, you can pop the spring out, pop the little contact points out, scrape them with a thermostat driver, and put it back in and make it last a little bit longer. But that is not the proper thing to do, because that is just band-aiding a problem that's going to need to be fixed down the road. Okay. So let's see. Just not bumping into anything here. Break out our lovely control box. And this contactor's been changed out, so it's recently new, so I can't check those contact points. But we can look anyway, see if they're pitted so I can show you. I appreciate everyone who's come and watched these videos, has been attending, and I hope people get any information out of them to help them out along their guides, their service careers, and diagnostic issues they may have. And this helps somebody. And this one does have some pitting on it. Perfect. I hope you guys will be able to see this. Grab the needle nose so my fingers aren't blocking it. There you go. That's your contact. So that should be nice and clean, but you can see the pitting, you can see the blackness. That's when it arcs, and eventually it will get worse and worse and worse. And two things will happen. This will either make contact and not let power through, or it will weld itself shut and allow power through constantly. So if you ever go to a service call and the indoor unit's not running, but the outdoor is, and the customer says, I had to turn it off at the breaker, 9 times out of 10, this is your problem. This has been pitted and welded to the contactor. If you go over there and you see the contacts are pulled in, you can't tell on this one, but you can on this one down here. Contact points are pulled in down there. But 9 times out of 10, that's what's going on. Your contactor is welded shut. Now, if they get a call and say, my air handler is running and my outdoor's not, it could be a few things. It could be a fuse. It could be a bad defrost board. It could be your contact. So there's other things that could be causing it. But if it's constantly outdoors running and the indoors not, 9 times out of 10 it's that, or it's a short in the wire. Now, one thing people always ask me is, how do you know if you have a bad thermostat wire? Okay. There's several things. Thermostat wires don't go bad. It's just a wire. How can it go bad? Well, what people fail to realize is this is only 18 gauge wire. It's thin. It's not heavy duty. It's fragile. Okay. It can break. I had one I went to on a Friday. Lady broke the thermostat, the old school mercury stat. She broke the little plastic dial handle piece on it. It was similar to this one here. She broke this off so she couldn't move the thermostat. She got so rough with it, she went like that and broke it right here. So she couldn't move her thermostat. So she got a new thermostat. Of course, the property management company charged her for it. Her filter was slam stopped up. It said 1 year on it. And she's like, but it says a year. I said, no, ma'am, this little charcoal filter is only good for 30 days. You need to change it every 30 days when you're using your heat. Change the thermostat, change it on, turn the thermostat on. Everything's working. Have a nice day. See you later. I'm good to go. Calls in on a Monday. Hey, my heat's not working. Okay. So you go to the thermostat and it's a Honeywell 5000 with the batteries in it. And first thing you notice, the thermostat's blank. Like, well, crap, it's powered by batteries. So why is it blank? You pop it off, the battery's in backwards. So how'd the battery get backwards? Oh, I was messing with it thinking that would stop the problem. No, the batteries are not going to stop the problem or cause it to do. Just don't touch the batteries unless the screen goes blank, then change them. And there's icons that tell you how to do it. So I go in the crawl space and I'm like, what's going on? And I hear the condenser motor start up. I hear it fire, then I hear it kick out. I'm like, flame sensor. So I pull the doors off, check the flame sensor, clean it, put it back together, turn it power back on. Nothing. I'm not getting a call for heat. I jump out R to W. When I go to jump out W, the thermostat wire breaks off of the screw terminal that it was on. It was just enough of a connection that it was still working. The problem with it was the way they had done it is they had hooked it like this. So it was screwed into the terminal and the wire was just bouncing in the airstream. And the vibration so much broke it at the screw terminal, but yet it was still just enough of it sitting there resting. It could still make connections. And when the blowers came on, it vibrated and made the connection go away. So I restripped it, took the wire, flattened it out so it would sit in the housing like this and not have that vibration. How you lay in your thermostat wires can also keep away from it possibly breaking at this point right here from making connection. Another thing I want to talk about with thermostat wires, and this is something that I ran into the other day. Most of our connections are like this or little screw terminals, right? Wire goes in. If you look right here, it gives you a depth gauge of how much wire you should strip. Very little. So I'm going to pull this S back, stick it in, and you can see I have barely any wire showing, okay? I went on a service call for unit constantly running auxiliary heat. I'm like, okay, well, what's the problem? This is what I found. Extra wire stripped, and the thermostat we were using, the wire had to be pushed, the R wire was pushed down. Right below the R was the W. R and W were extra stripped so much that R was touching W, causing the auxiliary heat run all the time. It was overshooting the space. Guys, gals, you only need a little bit, okay? Because all you're making is that little connection right there. That's as far as it'll go in. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need to have a full inch of wire stripped, which will cause possible shorts down the road. That is another issue with people. They don't think about those things. Now, a lot of us older techs will preach and preach and preach about this next one. So, you see how my wire is coming through here, right? Say this is where your thermostat's mounted like this, and whoo, that sucker's hot. I gotta pull this off. I can smell it. She is stinky boy. I'm gonna put her in the middle casing of the old unit so it doesn't melt anything because that sucker's hot. Sit right there. So we're gonna de-gauge this to turn the system off because we're done with it operating. We're gonna pull this off. So you can see, I don't know if you can or not, but I'll move you closer so you can. You can see here how your thermostat wire comes through, right? So this is coming through our wall. See how nice and neat and tidy this looks? Guys, I go to calls where this is all bunched up in the areas of the thermostat connections. It looks like junk. And the other problem I have is there's no slack in the wall. When you pull the thermostat off, there's no extra wire put there. You can't get the wire out. This is all you have to play with. Because behind the wall is a stud right here, okay? And they've drilled at an angle through the stud to put the wire through and out. No, please, if you're doing new construction, do not do that. Stop drilling through a stud, put the wiring, and putting the wire through. This causes problems down the road. You can't get any extra pull wire because just below that, down here, you have a staple in the wire and it's so jammed tight and packed up against it, you can't pull it and you're screwed. Then you got to try and fish a new wire up a wall. It's not fun. Please, for my sanity and all the sanities of all the other senior technicians out there, stop doing this. This is where you break wires in the wall, from the staples. So versus having that wire going through a stud at an angle like this, you got a stud here and a stud here. Put you a 2x4 across it, drill you a hole through the center of it, bring your wire up, leave it looped up and down about a foot or two. Give it some slack in the wall, push it through so you have the ability to make your connections. And if you have slack, you can leave it there. Okay. That is what you need to do. Now, I'm going to unwire all this. All right. So we're only going to mess that can go down here because that's common in 24 from the transformer. So here's our wires, right? Green, red, yellow, orange, black, and white. There's our wires. Let me back you up a little bit here. Okay. Here's all our wires. Our thermostat's disconnected, so we don't need to worry about disconnecting these. But on the old school ones that have the circuit boards on them, you got to disconnect them because they can send signals through. So what you can do is if you're trying to check to see if you have a short in the wire, put your meter to continuity. So that way, every time your meter leads touch, you get that lovely beep. And you can see the OL on my... So what I like to do is I always start with R. And I go through each wire, right? I've ruled R out. So R's can be done, pushed aside. Wire finished last, I start with that wire next. And I go through each wire until I'm done checking them. Wire poking my arm. No continuity. So that tells me my thermostat wire from my thermostat to my air handler is good. Now, if I had a short, I would get continuity, right? Let's... So let's just say I had a short between W and common, right? So I've gone through everything, and I'm at my last two wires, common and W. What am I on? Oh, I'm on O, excuse me, common and O. There you go. See? Okay, I found my short. So now I know my orange wire is got a short to common. So you can do two things. If you have spare wire, you can go, okay, clip the orange wire, change it to thermostat to a different color, run it same color out here, and make your connections. When you do that, for the love of someone else down the road who's working, go in the outdoor unit and at the air handler and write down O shorted to common. That way, someone knows why you didn't use the orange wire on the unit. And let's say you decided to use blue. Well, we all know blue wired to an OB terminal is reversing valve heat. 90% of us do. Some people just, last 10%, just don't comprehend some certain normal common sense things. Making that notation at the air handler and at the outdoor unit inside the cover or on the front of the door, something so let the next technician know that that is there, doesn't make them think, oh, the thermostat's programmed wrong, or it's the wrong this, or it's wrong that. Simple little notes like that can help you or somebody else, because you may not remember that in a year or two when you come to that house and go, why is a blue wire on here? This needs to be this. And you might not remember going there. And guess what? You wired up, and then boom, you pop the fuse, you pop the transformer. Now you've got to fix everything. And you got to go back through and re-diagnose and test. Now, if I'm testing from the air handler to the outdoor, I do the same thing. I separate all the wires so they're all separated like this. I do the same thing. I go through until I find the short. Now, let's say I have a spare wire that's shorted. Okay, well, I got a spare wire that's shorted. We make a note of it. Blue wire bad, shorted to ground or shorted to R. Okay, and that may be popping, and it may be stripped enough to where it just sits up against the cabinet and rubs the metal. Okay, and it hits the metal and causes a problem. Or when you have your thermostat wire in its casing and you strip it with your clines and you don't peel back past that, you have that ring of stripped wires, and you just kind of strip above that and use that. Those are possible nicks and shorts that happen down the road. Once you strip the outer coating off, peel back a couple inches past that, then cut that coating that where you use that first strip off. Get rid of it. Don't use it. There's a little string in there used for pulling that stuff out. Low voltage can be your nemesis. It can cause you problems, and it can brain fry you. Don't let it. Okay. If you're not sure or strong on low voltage, anytime your guys do a change out on a system, find the wiring schematic. Okay. Read it, study it, learn about it. Okay. Ask your office to say, hey, can you save that old outdoor unit for me? I want to play with it and train on it. 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you, sure, not a problem. Save for John Smith. He's going to be using this for training. I know a friend of mine, she works for a company, and they actually have a setup for her in the back of the warehouse for her to use for training. It is her unit and her unit only. It is a fully functional gas AC system. It is hers to go through and play with. One of the guys will go out there and he'll create a bunch of faults for her, and then he'll say, hey, the unit's ready for you to go. And she'll go use that as her training to get more trained. She'll go out there and tear it all apart completely, like she's doing a repair on it and putting it back together. These are things your company will help you with. Okay. If your company's not wanting to help train you, talk to them. See what you can do. At Chicks, we have mentor programs. We have experienced technicians here to help you as junior technicians to learn and understand. We have a tech support line. We are here to help you with technical problems. Fortunately, some people like me, I am not good with certain things where Jen's good with them, and she refers people to me versus vice versa. We have other people on the line as well on Mondays and Tuesdays, and me and Jen pretty much cover the rest. So if you need help, wiring, diagnostics, learning, we are here. If you have ideas and say, hey, I'm not good at this. This is not my strong skill. Can you make me a video? Guys, gals, I am more than happy to set something up here, record it out in the field. I am more than happy to make a video of training and post it up on in here for YouTube for you, because not just you might need it, somebody else might. Jennifer's the same way. We are here to support the youth in the trade, the women in the trade, the young techs in the trade, and help you. We have numerous people we can count on. Ty, he makes the best videos. I love watching Ty's videos. I might be as 26 year in the field, but there's stuff that Ty does that I never thought of, or Ty does. Like, it's just, we all have it. HVAC school, the stuff he does, Skill Cat. If you need help, please, Chicks, You can message Jennifer. You can message me. You can message Danny. You can message John, Nance. We are all here. Any of the admin on Chicks, I don't remember everyone's names on there, so forgive me if I missed your name. But we're all here to help out. That's our goal, is to help you learn. That's why I'm doing this in a spare bedroom at a house, because this is the only lab I have. But I'm here doing it. I've spent money building this board. I've spent time to make this for you. So please, thank you everyone who's shown up for these 5 videos and the other videos that we do live training. You have questions, please reach out on the page, reach out to me, Jennifer, any of us. We'll be happy to help you out and get you going. With that being said, I told y'all it'd be about an hour, hour and a half total time frame. We're about an hour 15 in. I hope this stuff helps you out because I enjoy doing it. So I hope everyone has a good weekend. Stay safe out there. Summer is coming, so remember to stay hydrated and watch out for those hot addicts. And always wear your protection with messing with high voltage and everything. So, guys, gals, it's been an honor teaching this stuff to you. I hope you enjoy it. And yes, we all make mistakes, as you saw my avalanche of materials falling. It wouldn't be Chicks if we didn't have something go wrong once in a while. So thank you. Have a good one. And I enjoyed seeing everyone. Take care.